Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about a marriage-based green card process. How can you get a green card through your marriage, through your spouse? Now, I already did a general overview of family-based green card application, so if you want to watch that first, feel free to do that. But today, I'm going to explain the steps of the process and the logic behind each step so you can understand everything much better. So let's get started. Alright, so first, a couple of important distinctions for you to understand before we move into the process overview. I already did this in my family-based overview, so if you've already watched it, feel free to skip it. But if not, stick with me. The first distinction is the difference between an immediate relative versus family preference category. An immediate relative of a US citizen includes a spouse, an unmarried child under 21 years old, and the parent of a US citizen who is at least 21 years old. Okay? Any other family relationship, like a child over 21 years old, or a sibling, like a sister or a brother, they fall into what's called family preference category. The difference is that immediate relatives are not subject to yearly visa caps, limitations, so their application generally moves faster, which is a plus for a marriage-based case. The second distinction is the difference between adjustment of status versus consular processing. This depends where the beneficiary, the applicant, is located. If the person who's trying to get a permanent residency is located in the United States and they're eligible, which I'll explain the criteria later, they generally go through a process called adjustment of status, which is a process where they can get their green card while they stay and work in the United States without having to leave the country. Okay? Now, if the person is outside the United States, then they generally go through a consular processing, which is the same process basically. It's just done through National Visa Center and the US Embassy in their country. The first step is going to be filing I-130 with the relationship evidence. Here, we're trying to prove that there is a legal relationship, marriage, that exists, and second, that the relationship was entered in good faith. It is bona fide. It's a real marriage and not done for immigration purposes. Okay? How you do that? You have a marriage certificate, obviously, to show that there is an existing relationship, and then we have to have some sort of joint lease, insurance, bank statements, account, taxes, anything and everything to show that we have connection financially with our life, and also pictures, videos of travel history, places we've gone together, messages to show that this relationship, this connection is real over time. We just need to collect all of this data and submit it with I-130 form. After the I-130 is approved, then we file the actual green card application, which for adjustment of status is going to be I-485, and for consular processing, the S-260, with all the other documentation needed, like affidavit of support, which is going to be the financial proof to show that the intended immigrant, the person who is trying to get the green card, will have adequate means of support and is not likely to become a public charge, meaning they have adequate financial support and they're not likely to depend on the government's money. They're going to also do medical exam just to make sure they don't have any disqualifying health conditions, which are very rare, but just a part of the process. Also, we're going to file I-765 for work authorization and I-131 for advanced parole and travel authorization. Basically, so you or the applicant can work and travel while they stay in the United States and wait for their application to be approved. Okay? After this, they're going to be scheduled for biometrics, where USCIS will run background and identity checks. And then after all of this is done, then we'll wait for the interview. Now, the interview, the most nerve-wracking part of this whole process, okay? USCIS generally requires both applicants to be there, and they may do the interview together and they may do the interview separately, okay? Here, USCIS is trying to see two things. First, if there is actually legal marriage that exists, which is obviously just looking at the documents, and then also to test whether this marriage is real. The logic is very simple. They're going to ask different types of questions, and they're going to confirm your answers with the documentation that they see, travel history that they see, everything that they see, as well as each person's answer. And here, they're going to try to find out if there's any fraud or if there's any suspicions, okay? Now, there are different types of questions that they may ask. I can't possibly give every single question, but they're going to ask normal life questions. They're going to ask when and like about your marriage timelines. When did you guys marry? Where? How did you guys meet? Who introduced you? How long has it been? When was your first date? When your relationship became serious? Etc., etc., etc. They're going to ask about financial questions. They're even going to ask daily detailed questions like what color is your bed, or which side of the bed did you wake up this day specifically? They're gonna ask those type of questions. So if there's any made up answers, they're gonna find out very quickly. Now, if you guys are, if your marriage is real, then you don't need to worry about anything. All you need to do though is to prepare with a person who is knowledgeable, who is experienced, because they may ask you so many questions, and because this interview is really generally on a nervous level, you like normal people get nervous. You want to be prepared because your guys' marriage can be perfectly real. You guys may be in love, but because you're nervous, you may just, because of that, under pressure, give random answers, inconsistent answers, and then it will create suspicions and just temporary hold, etc., etc. So you definitely want to be prepared with an experienced person. Some facts about the person, about the applicant, could cause some inadmissibility issues, which is decided by Immigration and Nationality Act. Okay, you don't need to know about any of this, but the point is, even if everything makes sense, make sure you consult with the right person, because small facts, again, can change the strategy. All right, I hope this video was valuable. I put the link down below this video. Go ahead, book your own consultation where we're going to do a deep dive in your situation, and we're going to learn everything about yourself in more detail, and based on all of that, we're going to give you a specific way how this will work for you personally. Okay, again, go ahead, book your own consultation, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye.